So the cloud takes more and more importance. There is more and more application on the cloud, so either cloud-centric application or cloud-enabled application. So mobile also takes a lot of space in the cloud. So it's easy to create some services, to reuse services in the cloud from mobile application. So the number also of developers will become more and more important. So here we foreseen in US a raise of 28%, and it's not my numbers. So they are numbers from Gartner's, and also the guru and the people who will get the power now. It's people who will be able to manage correctly a DevOps scenario, who will be able to fully streamline the development from the requirement up to the production of this application. So, but in many companies, they expect delay due to delivery of the operation. So how many of you were in a situation where you have an application, you would like to test this application, but you don't have yet the server. So you have to wait the server, the operation team to install the server, to install the middleware, to set up. They made mistake, they have to restart, they have to order server, and so on. So you know the story. It's very complicated and time-consuming. Also, due to this lack of test, a lot of applications are rolled back from production. So we put them on production, and we notice something goes wrong, so we have to roll back to the previous version. And sometimes to make simple changes, it takes ages to make simple changes, to record these changes and to apply them, to retest them and put them in production. And this is mainly due to those two gaps between the business line, so the requirement, the analysis of the functionality, the development team, and the second gap between the development team and the operation, because the development team make their development, they run it on their laptop, oh, it's okay, it works, goodbye, here is the application, install it, and that's it. And so they don't know how to install it, and so they spend hours to try to install, then they have to fine-tune it. They find that you use in development not the same version of the middleware than we use in production, and it becomes very difficult. So, and this is what we try to address with our solution. And so it's to provide a full life cycle capabilities of the development of an application from the requirement up to the production. So, and industry or companies normally, so they face a number of problems when they try to do that. So they have problem with the security, the integration between the applications, and so on. So, and with the IBM SmartCloud application service, which is the platform as a service of IBM, so we provide this environment. So it's really easy to start this environment. You do it in few clicks, and you will be able to record your requirement to create your project, to maintain the code, then to push this code into a running environment, and at the end into production. But first of all, I would like to recap what is PaaS, so platform as a service, compared to the other environment, to the other system. On the left side, you have the traditional on-premise. So the customer do everything from A to Z. So he's in charge of the infrastructure, of the application of the data, and so on. Of course, using this model, you can deeply customize your environment. You can tweak it, you can tune it really at the low level. but it costs a lot of money because you will spend time to do it and so on. Infrastructure as a service, so we go up to the virtualization. IBM also provides an infrastructure as a service in a different model through SmartCloud Enterprise, SmartCloud Enterprise Plus, and now due to the new acquisition of SoftLayer, so we provide also infrastructure as a service through this channel. And so the vendor is in charge up to the hypervisor, and the OS and above is in charge. It's the customer who is responsible for that. On the extreme right, we have software as a service, and there the customer is only use the software, and the vendor is in charge of everything. So if you take, for example, at IBM Lotus Live or Tivoli Live, so there are two software as a service that you can use, and you register, and you don't care about the application itself nor the data. The backup are taken for you, and so on. So platform as a service is something in the middle. So we go up to the runtime. So that means we take care about the middleware that are installed, that we provide. We take care also that the VMs stay up and running. If they crash, so automatically another VM will be created to replace it without downtime. But the customer still need to take care about the data and the application. However, we can provide also service to back up the data, for example. So the IBM SmartCloud application service will full 5 topics. The first one is application lifecycle. So application lifecycle, it's the fact to get the requirement to record the defects, test the application, and so on. The second is application resource. The application resource is be able to deploy a database automatically, to use an application server, or to use a messaging service, and so on. Application environment is, for example, you are running a G2E application, so we provide an environment to run this application. Application management is to maintain your application, in the sense of you can monitor what happened with your application through the platform. And integration, at the end of the day, is the fact to integrate different applications. So we have a product called Cast Iron, where you can connect, for example, Salesforce to another system, and you merge the data, and you collect those data, and you work with it. We have some clients here as a reference, and they use our platform in different ways. We have some clients that use only the lifecycle part, others that use only the deployment infrastructure, automatic infrastructure part, and some of them use both. So, for example, here, OneTree, they use the automatic platform as a service for infrastructure to provide quickly an environment to their customer. So the customer doesn't need anymore to buy the environment, so they create their own pattern for their application, and they deploy this pattern into the infrastructure, and automatically in a short period of time, they have the full environment, and they can give the credentials to the customer, and the customer can run his application. So through the IBM SmartCloud application service, we provide mainly 2 services. The first one is the collaborative lifecycle management service, and the second one is the workload service. So the first one takes care about the application project management. It's based on rational products. So we have 3 rational products in it. So rational team concert to manage the code and the defect and so on. A rational quality manager to manage the quality of your application. And the last one, rational requirement composer, to help functional analysts and technical analysts to document the requirement and to track those requirements. So requirements can be split into tasks, and those tasks can be assigned to developers and take the follow-up of this requirement to the completeness. So the collaborative lifecycle management. So it's really easy to deploy it. You go on the portal, you click on the service, and you deploy it in a few minutes. So you have just to enter a password and so on, and you get a console where you can create your project and assign user to this project. So each user can have different roles. We have developers, we have analysts, and so on, and you really pay per user and roles on the project. So it's really, so if at a point of time your team grow, so you add new user, you will pay only during this period for the extra users. Right? And so this is to help the Devops. So the Devops is the ability to deploy. The Devops, it's a bit more generic than Agile. Agile is only for development. Devops is also for operation. And so when we link both together, so we can easily move from development to the production, and to speed up the operations, integrate, get a better integration, and go faster in the deployment. You remember at the beginning I said, okay, we lose time to create a test environment. Here it will be very easy and very quick. You have the SmartCloud application workload service, and from this part, in fact, you can deploy what we call pattern. A pattern, I will come later on it, but it's a number of boxes that represents components of your application that you will be able to deploy it on the cloud. So we have a number of predefined patterns. We have the web app pattern. We have the database pattern, either transactional or data mart pattern. But we have also new patterns that we just released. So the Zen PHP pattern, which allows you to create an environment for PHP. And the second one is the work-life pattern, which is an environment for a mobile application. And here you see a pattern. So on the left side, you have a number of tools, of boxes, that you can drag and drop on the right side and design, in fact, the infrastructure that you would like to deploy. So here the designer took an enterprise application. He specified also some scalability rules. So he said on this application server, okay, if the time of the response time of a request goes above 2 seconds, automatically a new server will be added in the cluster. Here in the design, you don't see the cluster because it's an abstraction of it. So everything is done behind the scene. You don't need to be an expert in this application server in order to be able to deploy it. You can also add some routing policy to address the different applications in the same application server, and you can connect also databases, and it's really a drag and drop to do and link those boxes together. And all the intelligence of the deployment and what you can do and what you can't do is set up in the design. So, for example, by design, it's not possible to link two databases, or to, so there is no possibility to make a mistake, in fact. So you don't need to be an expert in design to be able to deploy an infrastructure for an application based on a pattern. So we have here on the left side what we call the pattern types. It's a number of boxes that you can drag and drop. You see we have also a messaging component. You can also attach external resources. For example, if you have an Oracle database which sits outside of this environment, so you can connect this Oracle database through the designer. So what is a pattern? So a pattern, it's a set of tools that you will put together and link together to design your environment. And as we use the same technology between different offerings of IBM, you will be able to take this pattern and move it in another environment of IBM. So I will explain it later. So and also, as you use a pattern, you will be able to deploy this environment multiple times. So, for example, somebody can create the pattern for development, and all developers can deploy their own environment in the cloud. So they don't need to reinstall or rebuild the pattern every time the pattern is reusable. So here we see a pattern, the web app pattern. So you can see that you set up the box for a WebSphere server, you add the policies, and you can add also some extra service next to it, a proxy server, a caching server. So those are services that are included in the tool. So just go in the tool and say, okay, I would like a caching server, a caching service. You specify the number of servers for this caching service, the policy, how this caching service have to grow or reduce automatically. You can add also user registry, and you specify the WAR file, and you deploy your environment. Also, this environment has a number of API. That means you have a good integration between different IDE. So if you use, of course, if you use the rational application developer, it will be easy to deploy on this platform. But if you use also a pure, sorry, I'll come back, a pure Eclipse environment, so you can use a specific plugin, which is also available for, you can download it for free. And this plugin will help you to push from the Eclipse environment your application into the cloud, into the pattern that you just designed and deployed. So as we use the same technology between different IBM offering, so the pure application, I don't know if some of you know the pure application system. The pure application system is a rack with a number of servers and fully set up for cloud. So you have auto redundancy, you have the network boxes, the disk, the CPU, and you have also a software called IBM Workload Deployer, which is the same technology that we use in this solution. So that means if you design a pattern for the SmartCloud application service, you will be able to port this pattern into this pure application system and run it in on-premise as a private cloud, in fact. We use also the same technology on SmartCloud Orchestrator, and also in the IWD that you can, this appliance that you can install in your own data center. So that means you design once and you can run it in different mode and different cloud. So, as I said, you can also specify a number of scaling policies on different components and calculate the price, the cost that you will have if you use in average this kind of environment and size. When you run your pattern, so you see here we have the portal. You see I have 4 running patterns. I can see the server which are running. We can see also if there is an alert, so the box become red, and you can also monitor. It's not a high-level monitoring system, but you can monitor the different parameter of the server, either at the infrastructure level, so monitor the CPU usage, memory, and so on, but also at the middleware level. So here we see the JVM consumption. You can see also the number of requests, the time, the average time per request, and so on. You can also, on this platform, bridge the ITM, which is IBM Tivoli monitoring system. So it's just a click, and you can mesh the 2 tools together, and automatically all VM will be discovered by this Tivoli monitoring system, and you will be able to build more complex rules for alert and so on. So send email if one server starts to bounce or stuff like that. For mobile, so I think it was at Impact 2012. We start with Worklight. It was one of the first version of Worklight. Now we are at version 6, and this environment allows you to deploy application for mobile. And what is interesting for this environment is that, you know, if you would like to create an application for mobile, you have Android, you have iOS, you have Windows mobile, and so on, and you have to create an application for each of them. With this system, with Worklight, you only create your application once, and you will be able to deploy it on different platforms. So on Android, on iOS, run it on a browser also. So it's a lot of benefits, so less development and so on. But if you want also, through this tool, you can also code some native, use some native API if you want something very specific from Android or from iOS. And this tool will build your application. And so on the SmartCloud application service, we provide an environment to run applications that are written with Worklight. So we provide, in fact, a pattern type. So you design the pattern you would like based on this pattern type. So you add one Worklight server, 2 applications on this Worklight server, X database, click, and you deploy the environment. And automatically, again, if one server crash, so the server will be regenerated. It's a cluster of server, and so on. You have a load balancer, and so on. And you can play also the Devops scenario with that. That means from your IDE, you can create the pattern. You can push your application into the cloud from the IDE, and you can build it and push it again, correct, test, and so on. Really going around the development scenario. We have also the PHP pattern, so since 4 months, something like that. So then PHP, the company that own more or less PHP. I mean, so PHP is an open source, of course, but they, those 2 guys, they rewrite the parser of PHP, and now it's really a full cluster environment with a lot of help for developers, so the developer can easily find the stack trace, find the different methods that use more power of the server, and so on. So we have now also a pattern for PHP, for Zen PHP on the SCAS platform. So again, you have the pattern, you design the environment that you would like, you click, and you deploy it. On the database side, so we made lately some improvement. So you are now able to take a backup on demand. Before it was only a nightly backup. So automatically a backup was taken every night. Now you can do it on demand, take also a snapshot. We also improve the fact that you can take an image of your database and regenerate a database from this image. This solution is mainly based on pay-as-you-go. So you can run a pattern either by paying per hour or per month. Of course, per month it's a bit cheaper than per hour, but you will pay only for what you use and when you use it. And also with the scalability, what is interesting is you will not only pay for what you use, but when you need it. So because the system will automatically notice that you need an extra server, and he will launch the server by that time, and you will pay only from that time for this server. So this is the roadmap we have. You see that we just onboard the PHP and mobile. So we are still working on some social media, social service. And you see here that we plan to have some other environment on this platform, like Ruby.NET and so on. We have also other services which sit next to SmartCloud application service, but which are PaaS offering of IBM. So we have the SCP, so you can order on the cloud an SCP environment. You can decide which size you would like to have. You can order only for development, or for development and staging, or for development, staging, and production. And we offer all the tools that are needed to migrate your environment from one side to the other side through a cloud, in a cloud environment. We have, it's not, Oracle here is already there also. We have it now. You can order it in the same way. So, and we also are working on also the capabilities to have IDE on the cloud. So I mean developer tools on the cloud. Now when you use the pattern model, there is two types of pattern. I mainly spoke here about application patterns, but we have also system patterns. So application patterns is really flexible in the sense of you have a lot of boxes and so on, and everything is deployed and installed on the fly during the deployment. If you use system patterns, that means you create a number of images that already contain the software and the middleware that you would like to use, and you put together those images and you deploy it on the cloud. So of course, it's less flexible. You need more time to create each image. If you have to release the image, you have to maintain these images and so on. Now we are working also on another type of platform as a service, which is called Bluemix. So Bluemix is based on Cloud Foundry. We just acquire a soft layer, so we will put this solution on soft layer. And this will really allows you quickly for developer to get an environment. So I tested lately. It's still in development for the time being, but I took one web environment, one MongoDB, and it took me 30 seconds to deploy them. So in 30 seconds, the developer has his environment. So that really means in the morning, he can come, deploy his environment, start working. The manager start to pay for it, but in the evening, he can stop it. And so it doesn't, the bill, the clock stop for the invoice. And so it's very quick, and this environment is very done, in my mind, for developers that would like to use a number of containers to run their application. and also for production in a social media environment where you would like to create a number of services. For example, I don't know, a service which delivers the stock market price. So you could create a service, and other application can connect to this service and receive the notification of this thing. And this part is very automated. That means it's less flexible in terms of tweeting, tuning, and so on. So you get the environment, you use it as is. So here is an image of the Bluemix environment. So we'll run it on a public or private solution. It's mainly based on open source. So we will provide frameworks based, you see here, on Java, Spring, JavaScript, Node.js, and services like MongoDB, MySQL, Rabbit, Postgres, and so on. And here we target the launch in the next year for this product. So if you like to know to have more information, so here there is a number of links that you can visit, but you can always visit the ibm.com/smartcloud, and you will find all the different solutions of IBM on the PaaS platform or on infrastructure as a service. I don't know if you have some questions. Yes?
Yeah, my question is, can you add your own middleware in smart clouds? Like you're providing your own caching technology, I suppose, when you add a cache. And let's say that I have an application already built. We use some specific API from a cache provider, and I want to add my own caching technology to smart cloud. Can I do that?
Yes, there is two solutions for that. The first one, if you use a virtual system pattern, so you can create an image which contains your own technology, but it's not so nice. The second way is to use the application pattern type, and we provide an SDK. So that means you can create your own pattern type if you want, and this pattern type will contain the components which represent your caching service, and you can drag and drop them into your pattern. You can extend also pattern types. You can either create components, but also you can create services like the caching service or the proxy service. Another one?
Well, kind of related one. Is your SDK compatible with Chef and Puppet, so I can reuse my script that I already developed in my enterprise? Because a lot of enterprise already invested either in Chef or Puppet. And
in fact, this SDK allows you to create a number of scripts which are run in a certain sequence, life cycle, like I guess Puppet and so on. From this script, these scripts are written in Python, so you can call your Puppet script from this script. And so you can benefit also if you create your own pattern. When you design a pattern through the SDK, you can specify if a server is persistent or not. That means if it crashes, you will benefit the auto resiliency of your VM through the service. You can also add monitoring stuff in it and include it. I made the exercise to add my own monitoring characteristics. So I just monitor the number of files in a directory in a server, and I was able to see it through the portal. You can add your own graph in the portal. You can add operations also. Add through the portal, get an operation that clean the log in your server or reboot it or whatever you want. Fully open, really flexible. So it asks a bit of development skills, of course, but you can do, as always, you can do a lot. And you can use the collaborative lifecycle management service to manage the development of your of your patent life.